Salutations, respected viewers. I am George from Ireland. So behind me is the Albany, which is the bachelor pad to end, or bachelor pads. Well, it was built in the 1770s, and it was originally privately owned. It was one person's residence. Then it was briefly owned by the Duke of York and Albany, as in the second son of King George III. So traditionally, the second son of the sovereign has the title Duke of York in England, whereas in Scotland he had the title Duke of Albany, like Albany, New York, and so on. I don't know where Albany actually is in Scotland. Is there such a place? But anyway, so he's known as the Duke of York and Albany, and he briefly owned this right at the end of the 18th century. And then after that, the name stuck. It's always known as the Albany, or some people just call it Albany. It's just off Piccadilly in London. That street's always known as Piccadilly, not Piccadilly Street. So it's a very shishy residence. But from the early 19th century, it was, as I say, these bachelor flats. And so a man was to be here without his wife or without his children. They'd be elsewhere. As in, they often use this for trysts with their mistresses. And very pricey. So you can only rent a flat. You can't actually own the whole lot. And you might rent it for years, but that's that you can't actually own the individual flats. And these things, they start from something like £2 million. I don't know how long the lease is. And they have concierges, and there was one like watching me like a hawk from the doorway there. I thought he was going to tell me to switch it off. So some very distinguished people have had this as their pied-à-terre in town, like the Prime Minister William Gladstone, the Hong Kong mogul, Sir Donald Tang, who died just a couple of years ago, and the late Alan Clark, the Honourable Alan Clark, I should say, and he was a role model to me when I was a teenage Tory, and he died 20 years ago next month, and so he used to use this for liaisons with his with the Coven and so on, with that South African judge's wife and her two daughters supposedly. So that's that. Anyway, you set you back a pretty penny to get in there, and it's very close to central London. Well, let me show you. Behind there is Piccadilly. Okay, this very busy street. We're about a mile from Buckingham Palace, very close to Piccadilly Circus. Never see flags flying on it. So very desirable residence, not slightly beyond my price range, I'm afraid to say. So it does say private property, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to film any closer, or they'll come out and tell me to stop. Someone's having furniture moved in. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the Albany. If you've got money to burn, that's the place to be. Nowadays, I think they've relaxed that rule, but I don't think anyone lives there full time. They just use it as a place to stay when they're in town. So a man can bring his wife and children there, but having said that, I don't know if anyone actually does live there. People tend not to live there full time, just stay there a few nights now and again. That's all from the Albany.